Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the coolest dog training channel right here on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining me today on this live stream. This is live stream number 3 of the coronavirus restriction to do much. So I'm here at the facility today. We are hanging out. Zach is doing some training over here with one of our board and trains. So if you do hear a little barking throughout this session, you know why. So I'm not home right now. I am out. And then this weekend we are officially closing to the public. No more daycare, but our board and trains will still be here, and the trainers will come in and get the dogs trained as accordingly. But we will be closed to the public. So today this is the way this works, guys. When you get here, like this video. If you're watching this after the live stream, like this video. And I'm going to answer questions at the end of this video. And then if you're watching this after the video, you're going to leave your questions for tomorrow's video. So very simple. When you get here, like the video, and I'm going to answer your dog training questions at the end of this video. So the first question that I have, thank you, Barbara, for liking this. I appreciate it. The first question I have is, what is your favorite dog breed to train? And that's a really good question. I actually get that not as much as I would think I would get it, because a lot of people might be curious on, as a professional dog trainer, what's your favorite? And in my experiences, my favorite dogs to train have been pit bulls and Labrador retrievers. The reason why is because pit bulls and labs are very, very, very happy to work. They want to please, and they want to do everything that you want them to do. So they're very eager. They're like, hey, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do next? So I really like using or training pit bulls and Labradors for that reason. Extremely eager. Their learning curve is also really, really nice. They are able to learn things really fast. And that's not to say, like, I've also had a lot of shelter dogs be very, very trainable as well. But I have found over the years that pit bulls and Labrador retrievers have had the best learning curve. They've been the most, I don't want to say been the fastest learners, but they've been the most eager to learn. So they're really engaged. They're like, what do you want me to do? I love you. What do you want me to do? I love you. And so pit bulls and labs are the answer to that, for those reasons. So if you guys have labs or pit bulls out there, let me know in the comments below. And again, if you guys just got here, welcome, and make sure you like this video when you guys get in. Even if you're watching this after, like this video to let me know you guys are watching. So the next question is why is so this is a question I got from one of you guys, is why is my dog only reactive sometimes on the leash to people? And the question kind of went in depth of, it's really random. There's no real consistency to my dogs barking and reacting to people. And I would say a lot of times you have to look at yourself as a handler in order to really audit why your dog is triggering for certain reasons. So if your dog is only reactive sometimes to an individual or a person, or is only reactive to people randomly, it probably has a lot to do with how you are. It probably has a lot to do with what you're doing with your dog that could possibly be triggering your dog. So if you're not in the right mindset, or you're not in the right position to be around other people with your dog, like some dogs are going to be more likely to be reactive than others. Very vocal dogs. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean protective. Dogs that are vocal could also be really excited too. Like Siberian Huskies are very excitable dogs. They become very elevated. They become very loud. And so I would say that a lot of dogs who are unconsistently reactive to people probably has a lot to do with what you're doing. So your body language, your leash pressure, how you're talking, what you're doing. And I want to give you guys an example of what not to do when you're meeting new people if your dog is a little sketchy or nervous. One thing that you don't want to do is this. First of all, let's like this video really quick. You guys are in here. There's about 90 people in here. Let's all like that like button really quick. Thank you guys for joining me. This is a lot of fun. So here's what not to do, guys. What you don't want to do is, if somebody's approaching your dog and your dog's iffy, right? And if you have a dog that's submissive, I don't care, do whatever you want, like the best dog in the world, you don't really have to worry about this. But if you have a dog that's iffy, the last thing you want to do is give them any reason to believe that that person is sketchy as well. So your dog's being sketchy because you're being sketchy about that person. So if the dog, good morning from Australia. Hello, Belinda. If your dog is out in front of you and somebody approaches and says, hey, can I pet your dog? And you're kind of, I don't know, maybe, sort of, I'm not sure. And your dog's in front of you. Your dog has already made the decision to take care of the situation, which is then going to potentially set them up for failure because it creates a lot of insecurities. So if your dog's in front of you and you're nervous, because the thing is you're nervous because you don't know how your dog's going to act. Your dog's going to be nervous because they're thinking that you don't know what to do, which is making them nervous. So it's a very self-inflicting circle. You're nervous, which makes them nervous, and they're nervous because you're nervous. It's a weird thing. So just making sure that you're not letting your dog approach that person first, and you're out of control and you don't have a lot of clear communication and confidence moving forward. So the best thing to do is work on your obedience. Tell your dog to sit. After you put your dog into a sit, the person can come up. You can have a conversation with that person, and then you could then maybe let your dog meet that person. But in actuality, I tell people all the time, like, if you're not sure, it's just not worth it. I mean, really, it's not. What's the point? The stranger that you've never seen before has an opportunity to come up and pet your dog that they don't know, and you'll probably never see him again, and you're unsure of the outcome. What's the point? I always tell people it's just not worth it. But anyway, if your dog likes people but is inconsistently about barking, chances are it's because the information that you're giving them is very confusing, very conflicting, and you're making them nervous. Be confident, have obedience, and move forward with confidence and making sure that your dog knows that you're in control. So that's what I would say about that. I hope that sheds light on what you're talking about. Again, if you have a dog that's unpredictable and is not going to do good, don't even try it. It's not worth it. In the future, if you wanted to desensitize your dog and have your dog get better around people they don't know, that's a different story and probably a different conversation. But anyway, that's probably wise, what you're doing as an owner. So I'm going to get into one more question from you guys, and then I'm going to be answering your questions live here. So if you guys are here, go ahead and hit the like button to let me know you're here. And this is a question that we got from another dog trainer, and she said, my client's dog wants to eat me only on the couch or in gated areas. So I'll paint you a picture. The dog's on a couch or behind a baby gate or maybe behind any type of gate. The dog then becomes more reactive to the person. Once the dog is out of that situation, the dog then really doesn't care. So it's hard telling, I mean, just from a couple sentences here on the internet exactly what's going on, but I can give you my best advice on how to work with something like this. Chances are if the dog is restricted and the dog is held back from stuff, they're going to become more likely to be reactive because they're held back. And it gives them some sort of suspicion sometimes. And suspicion plays a big role in dog behavior. I know my dog will become more reactive on the leash to get excited if I hold the dog back because they anticipate like, okay, let's go. Like if you've ever done any protection work or any search and rescue stuff, you put them on a tie back on a harness and you get them kind of jazzed up and frustrated and they want to do it more. So I would say first thing is if you can eliminate any known triggers, I would do so immediately. And what I mean by that is the gate is probably okay. The couch is your couch. So I would be telling the owners to say, well, if your dog is only growling at me on the couch and the couch is kind of a benefit to the dog or it's kind of like a sugar coating or privilege to the dog, I would take it away. Dogs are animals. They don't care if they sleep in the hay outside, in the snow outside, or in the house on the hardwood floors. They really don't. It's more about what we feel the dog wants. If your dog wants to get on your big, expensive couch like this, that's just you you're humanizing the dog and you're saying it's okay for them to do that. So the first thing I would do is eliminate any known unwanted triggers that could make that behavior happen, because that's the easiest way. It's like, I wonder why this is happening. Instead of wondering why it's happening, why don't you just say, let's take the dog off the couch and not let that happen anymore, because it's developing bad behaviors. The other thing is, besides the triggers, is I want to talk about obedience. So if your dog is on the couch and it's a habit and your dog's been doing that for a long period of time, you can simply tell your dog to go to their place to eliminate that consequence, not that consequence, but that potential conflict that you're having with the dog. So sometimes that happens where dogs have certain triggers, and if you can decompress and get rid of that trigger by telling the dog to go, with obedience, telling the dog to go lay down, that would be a great idea for you to do that. So if your dog is reactive during those times of thresholds and being held back, that's what I would do, is remove what you can, counter condition it with obedience from there. And then as far as the gates go, I would also be working on a leave it command. So if this dog is consistently barking at individuals behind a gate, I would simply have the owner, thank you for hitting that like button, I appreciate it. I would simply have the owner stand next to the dog and then work on your leave it command. One of the main things I ask people all the time is they come in with all of these problems and all of these behavioral issues, and they're on the verge of getting rid of their dog or worse. And I say, what have you done about it to tell the dog it's wrong? What have you done when the dog does something? What are you doing? Are you yelling at the dogs? Dogs do not care if you yell at them. What are you actually doing that makes the dog say, you know what, I don't want to do that again? There's so many different avenues we can go down to discuss the proper way to correct a dog during this time, but that's a little bit more in depth, and it's very, very dog specific and situation specific. But that's one question you have to ask yourself, is if your dog is doing something that is definitely not warranted, definitely not necessary, and not acceptable, what are you doing as the dog owner or the trainer to tell the dog that that's not okay? So that would be my advice to that. And now I want to jump into some of your questions. So if you guys have questions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. If you guys are watching this after the live, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to be doing probably another live tomorrow. And if you have dog training questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will pick 3 of them to answer the following live. So go ahead, guys, with your questions, and we'll get started on some of these. All right, let's see here. Sorry, guys. A little bit wobbly here. Okay, so any tips on how to help my 7-month-old German Shepherd with the fear of other dogs and men? I covered this yesterday, but I'll go into it a little bit. If your dog is nervous of other dogs and men, it just depends on how the behavior is being worn. If your dog is barking at people and dogs, you can correct that behavior, but you also have to be empathetic and fair to your dog to make sure that you're not putting them into an unfair position. So I would say desensitizing your dog to whatever they're afraid of within a controlled environment. If your dog's afraid of people, maybe go to an area where people are going to completely ignore your dog so you can start desensitizing that process. If it's men that they're afraid of, get as many men around this dog as possible, but have them ignore the dog. Because right now, a lot of times what humans want to do is they want to go, hey, baby, how are you, to the dog. And the dog's already afraid of them, and then you pretty much light that fire up and make things worse. So if you're going to desensitize your dog to things that they're fearful of, make sure that thing that they're afraid of is as neutral as possible and doesn't give the dog any type of contact, because it'll make them more nervous. Let them just be around it, and then that way they will get better and they won't be so afraid. All right, so we have another question coming in. Good question, Matthew. How long does the uncertain phase last in a lifetime? So certain dogs, as they mature, definitely go through fear stages of, holy crap, what's happening? Just like with kids, they mature differently. They go through different things. Things change in their hormones. They become potentially fearful or overconfident. And I would say that depending on the breed, that'll last a couple months. Let's see. I have a Rottweiler that reacts only when I pick up my kids and my husband. My dog, so it might be something he's experienced before. Sorry, my English is bad. So it sounds like your dog is reacting when your husband picks you up. A lot of dogs do not like roughhousing, so they what I call policing. So certain dogs will police certain situations because they don't like that physical activity. They will police you. Rottweilers especially, they're very protective, guardian type breeds. So if you start getting physical and you scream and you go high pitch and you're moving around and it becomes very exciting, dogs don't like that. Dogs like calm, relax environments. And if things change and they get very intense and very physical, a big dog like that will definitely try to police the situation to try to de-escalate it. So they're just playing police in that part. So I would just try to do your best to respect that out of your dog and that primal natural instinct to maybe not do that. How to get a puppy to stop biting. I answered this a couple days ago. Big thing is not giving them extremities to bite. Puppies like biting because from pretty much the time they can walk and play with their brothers and sisters, they will then play with their siblings, and then they become very mouthy. So when you get them, they don't know any difference between you and your siblings, so they want to chew on you because that's what they've done. That's how they communicate. We start the humanizing process as soon as we get a dog and we want them to be more like people. So what you have to do, make a closed fist, don't give them anything to chew on, and make sure they have plenty of stuff to chew on themselves. Let's see. Should bark collars be avoided for fearful, reactive dogs? Our German Shepherd is 8 months and is overly confident in some cases and fearful in other cases. But she is always barking in both cases. Carrie, I would be very careful how you use bark collars with a fearful, reactive dog, because it can actually, if it's real fear, which means your dog is like, holy crap, what's going on? I'm going to bark, and I'm going to wear that through barking. It can actually probably work against you because the dog becomes more fearful. I've seen the bark collar work well in certain situations where it de-escalates it, where the dog is just being a nuisance bark, like roar, 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 and then all of a sudden the bark collar comes on and they kind of look around and it stops it. I would recommend not getting a bark collar that has stimulation, but just vibrate. So there's great bark collars. Dogtra makes a Dogtra IQ Vibe, or a Dogtra Vibe collar that only vibrates when the dog barks, which is a very safe option for you to use if it's barking. But to get to the core of the behavior, I would really, really just be working on why your dog is barking instead of trying to figure out how you can stop it from barking, which is a whole other conversation. All right, I'll answer 2 more, or maybe more, who knows. What food do I recommend? I feed raw, fresh meat and sweet potatoes. That's good. Wow. Let's see. Bryce answers my maybe GS. Puppy goes under the table. Is there anything to do to help? Yeah, use your leash to send your dog away and don't let him under the table. You have to realize that a dog's behavior is going to be created off of what you let them do. A dog's behavior is going to be created off of what they do. I said it twice, but it's true. If you let your dog do a bunch of stuff, it's through sequences of doing whatever they want, and that's what you stop them from doing that. Okay, my German Shepherd likes to go after vehicles, especially loud and fast vehicles. How can I get her to stop? She's 5 years old. Well, Sharon, it's a very simple question and a very simple answer. You have to ask yourself, if you're having problems with these very basic behaviors of, hey, my dog is barking at cars, what are you doing about it? Well, I'm yelling at my dog. I'm telling them no. Does it work? No. Well, then it doesn't work. You have to move to something else. I would recommend finding a trainer in your area that can size you up with maybe a slip collar or a prong collar to really correct the dog when they do that safely and effectively with one of those collars, to really tell the dog and discourage that dog from doing that behavior in the future. You're also going to mark that correction with a verbal as well. So you're going to say, leave it, correction, and then eventually you will not have to use the equipment at all. All you have to do is tell the dog to leave it, and then they will know that something is going to follow if they don't comply. That's that answer. All right, let's see what else we got flowing here. Is it a good thing to down my dog on a sit or a stand? The down is a better command when you put him into a down from a stand, because it makes it tighter. The sit down becomes kind of sloppy, and the dog doesn't really do well with that. Yeah, Sharon, she's pulled me down to go after a car. Again, it doesn't matter what she's doing. It matters what you're doing to stop it. I've fixed that problem many times very easily with the very basic, clear communication of a correction to say, I don't really want you to pull me down the road anymore, scrape myself up, break my bones, and potentially end up under a car. So I've corrected that behavior pretty much immediately. How to train a dog to stop jumping on people when they settle down or when the people walk in our home. Same thing, Ariana. Is just the question is what are you doing about it? If your dog is doing it, just like kids, guys, let me give you an analogy here. If your kid is doing a bunch of things, say your kid takes this marker, writes on the wall, and then takes this lighter and lights this on fire, what are you doing about it? That's all behavior we do not like. That's all behavior that's going to cause the dog end up looking bad and all that stuff. The question is what are you doing about it? There's no secret to say, what noises can I make? What are some things I can do to really just try to get this to stop forever? You have to practice it. Your dog jumps up. Give them some sort of slip collar, a kennel leash, something that slips to give the dog pressure. When they jump up, you say off and you pop them down. Don't be afraid to use your leash when you guys are training in the house as well. The leash is a great communication tool for very basic stuff. The dog jumps up, you say off, and then you pop them down. Very basic stuff. Okay, I'm going to sign off, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start answering your questions in the comments after this video is published. If you guys want me to do this again every day, I'm down because there's really not much else to do. But make sure you like this video. You can subscribe to my channel for all the different dog training videos that we have. Obviously, there's many training videos on here that aren't live. So I appreciate you guys joining me, and we're going to do this again tomorrow if you want. If you guys want me to, like this video, this is going to be published. Go into the comments and let me know, and then you can ask your questions, and then I'll answer them tomorrow. This has been very fun. I am so grateful for all of you guys for hopping on here, and I'm really proud of the community that we have here on the Coolest Dog Training channel. So thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys in the comments, and I hope to see you guys hopefully tomorrow. I'll go on if you guys like this video and let me know. Let me know in the comments. All right, guys. Peace. Enjoy. Stay safe.